Auth66, I think we're 51. See how many funny faces I can make for YouTube to mess around with. I know a lot of people will pick their thumbnails, but like I said, I don't, so I just have a naturally expressive face, I guess, so I'm at the mercy of whatever it chooses, and I think it's hilarious, personally. Anyway, today's topic is inspired by one of my employees. We do this morning huddle every morning, kind of a chance to either depart some training or like tips for the day, and also to know what each department is working on, if there's any projects that are happening. But oftentimes too, we start with like what we call the segue question, and that is, just a lighthearted question to start the day off on a good foot. And today's question was, what's something in the last, I think it was the last year, that has made you extremely happy, that like you can pull? And it was really nice to hear, lots of answers, and some people who had multiple answers of things that they, couldn't separate. There was one employee who straight up said, I can't think of anything. And we all piped in with things that they had been excited about, and that they had expressed happiness over. And I said it as a joke in the meeting, like to be lighthearted, but I said, I don't think the problem is that you don't have anything that to be happy about in the last year. I think you might have a memory problem of recalling it when you're in a tough spot. And it kind of let me know that he might be having a rough day. But it made me think about wanting to talk about that, like being in that place where, it feels heavy, it feels overwhelming. And sometimes it can be for a reason, and sometimes it can just happen. I actually had a day like that myself not that long ago, and I used a description that I felt was pretty apt. It was like wearing one of those itchy shirts that you got from some relative that's like maybe cheap, or it's maybe made of like uncomfortable material, and you just like, you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel yourself in it, you just want to get out of it. And some days are just like that, right? You just want to go to bed and wake up to the next day. But while I don't believe in being like positive for the sake of being positive, I do think it's important to have like some set of tools, some set of coping mechanisms, something that when you have a day like that, or when you, maybe it's isn't a bad day, but maybe it's just one of those days where you feel like you're in a funk, how do you, like, a way to pull yourself out of it, or bring yourself up at least to the surface, right? Like if we're all swimming, a day like that can feel like drowning, and having some sort of life preserver so that you can float on the surface without having to do all the work, that's an important thing to have, right? And I mean, I know what it is for me. I know what usually works for me. There are some days that are just too shitty, for lack of a better way to put it, that you can't overcome it. But for me, usually it's music. Music will usually pull me out. And, there's a couple of songs that I think of in particular. I mean, there's songs when you're going through something that kind of always like speak to you. And there was a particular rough time in my life where there was a song that I think sounds like sad and depressing, but it's actually not to me. And the music video is actually pretty amazing too. But I think it has lyrics that are super important to remember. And much like I read poetry, I figured I'd read the lyrics. I'm not going to sing, because though I love karaoke, that's not what my Auth66 is about. But I think it would be good, just in case that you're having a rough day, or you're having one of those days, that you remember what it says in the lyrics. When your day is long and the night is yours alone, when you're sure you've had enough of this life, hang on. Don't let yourself go, because everybody cries, everybody hurts sometimes. I think that is such a powerful thing to say. It's so easy when we're in these moments to feel like we're alone. But watching that employee, they looked alone when they said that, when they said, I don't have anything happy from the last year that I can think of. And then when all of us as colleagues, jumped in with things that they had shared and been vulnerable about that they were happy about when they happened, you could see this person cheer up. And it wasn't just because they were remembering, but it was also because somebody was being the life preserver for them. Somebody was remembering what was positive for them so that they didn't have to carry that. It can be really scary to let other people in, to share parts of yourself that maybe you wouldn't. Trust me, I don't do that very easily. I'm not really preaching that you should do that, but I'm saying whatever your bar is right now, if you feel like that's something you struggle with, find little ways that you can let people in, because you might be surprised how people can show up for you. I think that whole line about everybody struggles, everybody has been in this point one way or another and probably understands how you feel, and you're not alone. Sometimes it can feel like that, and that's our brain and anxiety's way of tricking us, but there's very much a whole world of people out there that are willing in some shape or form, whether or not it's exactly what you think or not, because that's my struggle, to be able to be there. So I'm not saying be positive all the time. I'm saying have a plan for when you're not, and I'm saying, and when that plan doesn't work, make sure you have some sort of support system that can be there and be your life preserver. That's my Auth66 for today. See you tomorrow.